Welcome to this week of Book Club for Movies. I do have a movie that we're going to be talking about, and I do want to talk about a couple more things. But this episode is not really going to be movie focused. I know you're already thinking, how can you already be doing a spin on your formula if you haven't even properly developed it yet? And that's because I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and we're just figuring it out as we go along. Over the weekend, my wife and I came back in from a trip. I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But when we got home, we ended up watching Birds of Prey. Now you can see I got this at McKay's for $2.95 of store credit, and I didn't like it. It's not worth ripping to shreds because it doesn't do anything that I outright hated. It just kind of feels like the standard subpar, 2020s comic book movie. I remember this poster particularly because this was one of the last movies that got a theatrical release wide before the COVID lockdown. So I just remember seeing this poster next to the Sonic the Hedgehog poster every time I was going past a movie theater during COVID. The movie, it almost gets somewhere. It really almost does. Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn is one of the few bright spots of the DCEU. The DC Comics Extended Universe is what they called it at the time. Thank God we just now have the DCU. Unfortunately, she's not currently slated to come back in any further appearances. I know they're just trying to do a clean break as much as possible between the old universe and the new universe. She carries this film on her back, and her co-stars don't really do anything. I don't know what the direction was for a lot of these people, because they've got good actors in this film. The lead villain is played by Ewan McGregor, and he's almost doing something. It feels like he's more just doing rehearsal takes, not really diving into a character. I forget the actor's name, but the one who plays his main henchman from the Mindy Project, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw him. I don't know what he's doing. The movie's surprisingly dark, while trying to be, bubblegummy and female-focused, which I don't think really works, because the darkness is staggeringly dark. You've got Harley Quinn, she's a chaos demon, essentially. Everywhere she goes, something's exploding, someone's dying, there's people always out to get her, now that she's broken up with the Joker officially. That stuff worked. But then you have that contrasted by a villain whose main motif is cutting people's faces off, and it doesn't vibe, for lack of a better word. I don't know what Mary Elizabeth Winstead was doing as Huntress, because I like her. I don't know if they maybe got a package deal where, hey, if you sign me, you can get my wife at a discounted rate, or something like that. Maybe they could spend more time together on set, offset. I don't know. I didn't hate Black Canary's reinterpretation. I didn't really like Renee Montoya's interpretation. Although, to be fair, the only version of Renee Montoya I have seen was from the 52 miniseries a couple of years back, many years back at this point. Lord, that was pre-New 52. I haven't read comics in forever. But I didn't agree with this, the way they were portraying her. And I think maybe the movie fails because it is called Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Because it's really Harley Quinn's movie, and the other Birds of Prey are really, downplayed. Maybe Barbara Gordon could have been entered and really spiced this up in some way. Maybe throw in some reference to the Killing Joke, and now the handicapped Barbara Gordon's got to work alongside, the Joker's former girlfriend, the former girlfriend of the person who, made you lose feeling in your legs, made you wheelchair bound. I mean, there's a better movie in here, but this movie is not that. I gave it a 1.5. There were some scenes that I liked. I mean, Margot Robbie is exceptional in this, and her performance is, Harley Quinn. I really think James Gunn got the best performance out of her for the Suicide Squad. I really hope we find a way to bring her back in. Birds of Prey will be going into my McKay's bag for my next trip. But that trip my wife and I took, it's something I like to call a family business trip, an FBT. It's a non-negotiable. Regardless of what it costs, the destination has already been determined, the dates are set in stone, and you have to pay whatever you pay, and you're not really gonna have any fun. My wife and I had to spend some money to fly to Albany for a funeral. And since we had, flown and driven and, gotten there and everything, we drove 90 minutes to the airport. We got, we were on a couple hour flight. Once we got everything settled, we really just wanted to walk around for a little bit. And we went to Barnes & Noble. Now I'm learning how much I love Barnes & Noble when I go to these cities that have a more dedicated media section at their Barnes & Noble. The closest Barnes & Noble to me, it's about half an hour away, but the closest Barnes & Noble to me doesn't have a real dedicated media section. They really have about a bookcase and a half right next to the coffee shop, behind all the vinyl. Vinyl is really taking up all of this space, and I'm not buying vinyl. That's not my disease. I buy Blu-rays. But when we went to Barnes & Noble, I went in to their little media section, and I saw two things immediately. I saw they had a 40% off sale for selected Universal movies, and I saw they had a 50% off sale for Mill Creek movies. When I hear Mill Creek, let me go grab it right over there because I can show you all exactly what I'm talking about. So when I hear Mill Creek, what I'm picturing is this Mill Creek. They put out the cheapest releases possible of movies and TV shows. They're really the bargain brand. And if you find a TV show, now this has changed, I hope, based on what I'm talking about today. Normally, it's when you find a more obscure TV show and you find that it's actually on disc, and you see what I like to call the little gear wheel of doom. You see that Mill Creek logo. You know that unfortunately you're not gonna get a premium experience. You're gonna get almost like you ordered a PlayStation game off of GameStop's website, and you get it in a paper sleeve in a case that smells like cheap plastic, and you're sure just smells like lead. So that's the Mill Creek I was braced for. But when I looked at the Mill Creek Pagoda, I saw movies that I wanted to see. And then I remembered that article from a couple years ago where big companies like Disney were in talks with Mill Creek to really help them in the physical media space. And I remember at that time laughing because I'm thinking, you're Disney and you're talking to Mill Creek about how to show up in stores again. But, I saw some movies that I wanted to see. The first one being Good Morning Vietnam. Now, there was a period of time where the Disney release of this movie was no longer in print, which caused the price of this used and new to really, scale up. And it's almost like what Mill Creek has done is they have just started reprinting titles from the various Disney catalogs. The Romancing of the Stone copy that I picked up from Target a couple months back for $5, that's a Mill Creek release. And they have a subtitle on the back of the box that will just let you know that this is the Yeah, it's probably going to be hard to make out. But down there in the bottom, it lets you know this is the 2023 Blu-ray release. This is Mill Creek's version. But if you look at the back, you're going to recognize that standard Disney output of just saying how many discs it is. Like, this just looks like when you grab Toy Story off the shelf. Mill Creek's putting out actual movies on, the disc is boring as sin. But then if you look at the disc, it's not a black disc. It's not manufactured on demand. It's a regular release disc. It says Region ABC here on the back, and on the disc itself are all of Mill Creek's new releases actually region free. But if I'm spending actual money on a title, I want it to be as cheap as possible. And that's why I loved this sale that I stumbled upon. Now, I only ended up getting one title from this Mill Creek sale, but I was happy to see that most of the Mill Creek films retail for $14.99. $15. That's my sweet spot. $15. And it was half off. So I got Good Morning Vietnam, a movie I've been wanting to see for years, for $7.50. Fantastic. And I had not seen that price be that low on a vendor like Amazon. But I told you all they were also doing a select Universal sale of up to 40% off. Now, I was assuming this was just going to be movies that Universal had put out themselves directly. Then I saw the Shout Select release of Used Cars. As a Back to the Future fan, I've wanted to see Used Cars because I want to see what other collaborations Robert Zemeckis has made with Bob Gale. And you tell me this is the first movie with a non-child star, Kurt Russell. I've wanted to see this movie for years, and I had the Shout Select release in my Amazon wish list, and I kept seeing notifications of where it would be around $13, $14. Now, Shout Select, unlike the company Criterion, likes to put out their movies in a more, I'd say, budget realm for a boutique. This retails for $22.99. Now, it takes a lot of interest for me to even consider getting a Criterion. If Criterion's retail for $50, $40 a pop, and then I go to get them on sale, and they're $25, $20 a pop, I gotta know a lot about that movie before I pick it up. I try not to blind buy Criterions because, I can't imagine spending $50 on a single film. Absolutely not. $22.99, it's not my sweet spot, but then you throw on a 40% sale and I can pick this movie up brand new for $13.79. Fantastic. So I've got two releases that I was able to pick up on this dreary trip. It's a little bit of a bright spot for me. Fantastic. I got two new movies, can't wait to watch. They're gonna go on my to-watch shelf in the living room. Now, I know I said we weren't going to be talking about movie particularly on this episode. And that's because I want to talk to you all about something that I hope to do in the future for this channel that we're going to start doing today. And that's a travel channel. That's a hotel review. I'd love nothing more than to put out content on this channel that is a quarter as good as Bright Sun Travels. I love Bright Sun Travels. If you've not seen Bright Sun Travels, they are the best produced trip and hotel reviews you can see. And I thought, well, I don't have an action camera, I don't have a GoPro, I'm going to use my phone for what I can. But I did come up with my guide. Now, this guide is the Gray Should You Stay rating. Now, I've broken it up into several different sections that I'm going to show you on the screen as I discuss them in my review. Now, where we ended up staying in Albany. When we ran the numbers, it ended up being cheapest for us to fly into Albany. We were able to get a direct flight from a more distant airport to us than the airport we normally travel out of. And we wanted to stay close to the airport, but I generally use two things when I book hotels, just from the bare minimum. I need free breakfast, if possible, and I need it to be above an 8 out of 10 on Expedia, aggregate. And then I'll do all of my other research. Now, we ended up staying at the Hyatt Place in Albany. It's 20 minutes away from the airport, and it was very well reviewed. Now, if you ever end up staying at these places that I'm talking about, I hope you have a wonderful experience. But I'm telling you, my parameters on the trip that I took. Now, I will never complain about the price that I spent, because depending on various reasons, when you go, it might be cheaper. When you go, it might be more expensive. We had to go for a funeral, so those dates were set in stone, so it's not like we could really, wait to go at a different time to see if this hotel became more affordable. So, first thing about this hotel is it's right there in the middle of downtown Albany. There's not much to do in downtown Albany. So when you pull into the hotel, you pull right off of a main road, and then you are immediately, you see there's a Progressive building, looks like one of the corporate offices, to the left of the hotel, and then they've got Progressive's parking lot behind a gate. And you're thinking, okay, so then we go on inside, once we, find the car drop-off point for you to go check in, and we go up to the desk, a floor above. It's one of those weird hotels, which makes sense for safety reasons, that the ground level is not the starting level. You actually have to take an elevator up to the lobby. But we went there and signed in. They let us know that the only place we could park was in the parking deck to the right of the hotel, which is a standard city parking deck. Now, we were only there for 2 nights. It's a non-negotiable $20 a day fee. Which again is why I'm glad I brought along my guide that I already made for future travels, because I just thought, well, what's the first part of your experience? First part of your experience is when you go to the hotel, what's the parking like? And this hotel is scoring 0 out of 5 for parking, because 0 means that it is paid parking only. I'm here in Albany. It's not like I'm at a destination city. It's not like, I'm braced for paying a resort fee. I'm braced for paying, an occupancy fare, whatever the bigger cities throw on. I know Albany's the state capital, but I don't think people vacation to Albany. I kind of find it crazy that you're asking me to pay $20 a day just to park my car in a city parking deck. Not to mention that when we actually went to park our car, they had turned off the normal system and we had to pay $10 to enter the deck. It's not the normal thing like they normally have where you just pay to leave. There was an event in downtown Albany that the hotel did not inform us about, so we had to pay $10 even to enter the deck. When you go to check in, they give you a little slip of paper for you to scan to validate your parking, and then they will charge you added on to your room fare when you check out. It's a 0 out of 5 for parking. Then we went up to the room. I want to tell you all, I loved this room's layout. You walk in and it's almost like you are in a mini suite. You come in, you got the bathroom immediately on your side, but then you've got this cute little couch area. The floor is entirely hardwood or fake hardwood. I don't care. I just don't like carpet in my hotel. It doesn't feel clean. The room, I ended up giving a 3 out of 5. The room was clean, it had an updated layout, Now, normally I would give a hotel a bump up for having a non-carpeted room. But there are two key reasons that keep this room at a 3 out of 5. The first being is that the AC in this room is one of those where they have it built into the wall, and it is about 6-7 foot height, and it is not aimed at the bed. It is aimed at the end of the room, which is great when you're trying to fill the room when you come in. But when you're trying to sleep, you want as much aimed at that bed area as possible. It's one of the reasons why I'm keeping it at a 3. The next being, I am the lightest sleeper in the world, and that bed was not great. Now, it wasn't terrible. I've slept on worse beds in more expensive hotels. The bed wasn't great. I woke up with some back pain in the morning. Wasn't my favorite bed. But the last reason, personally, was the sound bleed. Now, I understand hotel rooms are like cruise ships. There's only so much they can do to block noise coming in from the hall. I'm talking about sound coming from the room over there and the room right behind the bed. All throughout the evening, we heard many different conversations happening in those separate rooms. That's what's keeping it at a 3. Now again, this was a 2-night non-negotiable trip. But if for some reason you needed to spend it a week in Albany, you need to know these things, especially if you're not planning on spending $20 a night just to park your car. I want everybody to have the best experience when they travel. Absolutely. Not everybody's going to Albany for a funeral. I want you to have the best experience when you travel anywhere. Now, let's talk about breakfast. I will tell you, this hotel had one of the best breakfast displays ever. I didn't get pictures of it because the hotel itself was busy at breakfast time. I don't want to, grab my phone out and try to record. So I will take these pictures from the hotel's website itself. But everything at breakfast was varied, and they were all of the items on the breakfast buffet were in these heavy cast iron Le Creuset serving pans. It was great. It was great. I got my cheese omelets that were pre-made. I got some French toast sticks. I got some breakfast potatoes. I got some sausage. They had turkey and pork. They had all of these options. And they also had various options that I'm not normally able to find at, hotel buffets. They had green Tabasco. They had regular Tabasco, but they had green Tabasco. Nobody has green Tabasco. It's my favorite. I can't find it anywhere. The stores near me don't even carry green Tabasco. But they had it there in the hotel buffet. It was wonderful. The food was good. Wasn't excellent. The variety was good, which is how I ended up giving the hotel breakfast a 4 out of 5. For you to get a 5 out of 5, I need you to have, something that's a cut above. I need a dish made with local ingredients. I need something that is so out of this world that I would pay to go to your hotel breakfast as if it were a restaurant. That's what separates this from being a 4 instead of a 5. They didn't have anything that was out of this world unheard of. They didn't have anything that was locally made. It's not like they had local syrup, local honey, anything like that. The coffee was good, but not great. They didn't have, cold creamer. They didn't have any of that. They just had the little creamer packets, stuff like that. But it's one of the better hotel breakfasts I've seen. That's why it gets a 4. But I wouldn't pay extra for this. Now, it was included. It was included at no extra cost. But that's what separates a 4 from a 5, is a 5 is, even if I wasn't staying at this hotel, I would pay an entrance fee to come and eat here. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is something that is very, very particular to me and the style of traveler that I am. I have an entire section on my rating list that is located in regards to the TV access. It's 2025. I need a couple things from a TV. It's no longer the early 2000s. You can't just roll up to a hotel and be blessed to be stuck with hotel TV cable. Okay? So, somebody like me, normally I'm traveling with HDMI hookups, and I love when they have, either a smart TV or they've got a Chromecast built in, accessible from the TV's interface. This hotel had a Chromecast built in, but the Chromecast did not work, and they had no other smart apps. If I wanted to watch anything outside of TV cable on the TV, I could pay $22 and rent a movie that's currently a $5 rental on Amazon. I don't know why they keep trying to pull this scam on people. Why would I ever pay $22 to rent a movie in a hotel room? I would rather just watch it on my phone at that point. I mean, if I've got TV cable, I'm probably going to be watching things on my phone anyway, which leads me to the next ratings in my hotel TV section. My wife is somebody who needs the TV on in order to sleep. Very, very low volume, but she just needs something. I'm sick and tired of going to hotels, and they have all of the settings locked off. Not just talking about hotels that don't allow you to easily change HDMI access. I'm talking, they say, no, you can't control the brightness. Why would you want to control the TV's brightness? Well, if I'm having it on all night, I need this to be as low as possible. Now, I was able to get this, I was able to find the accessibility menu, couldn't change the brightness, but I got it over to grayscale, which kind of evened out the brightness. Now, I couldn't lower it, but at least it wasn't going to be peaks and valleys in regards to that TV brightness all night. But another reason why I do not like being stuck with hotel cable is, depending on what channel you watch, there's still that moment where it's going to change over to paid advertising for the rest of the evening. Besides the fact that you're already getting advertisements in between your programming, and we all know those advertisements are nowhere near the same volume as the programming that you're currently watching. That's why, since the smart options did not work, they did not have any other apps for me to use, the HDMI access was blocked off as well, smart apps did not work, Chromecast did not work. We reboot the TV, I rebooted the separate additional thing for this TV's access, we rebooted our phones, made sure we were on the correct hotel Wi-Fi, disconnected from the Wi-Fi, we did everything we could. TV gets a 1 out of 5. You're stuck with TV cable, hope you find something where you can fall asleep and not get woken up by the advertisement changeover every couple minutes. So let's talk about the next category in my hotel ranking. Let's talk about the bathroom. And when we first went into the bathroom, we thought it was very nice. It's clean, it was tile, really nice shower. Then upon further inspection, it was immediately clear that the bathroom mirror had not been properly cleaned from the previous tenant. You got those water droplets or that, that toothbrush spit, whatever was on the mirror. It was hard to capture on camera initially, so I really could only capture it once I had, fogged up the room from my shower that evening. Another thing I ended up loving was the premium shower head. They called it a hydro massage shower head, but I think it just meant low water usage because it only had one setting and it was kind of a mist. It's like a heavier mist. But that's one of the perks to hotel shower is you get to use a shower head with like 85 settings and that sort of thing. Temperature was fine, But because of that shower head and the mirror needing a once over, I ended up giving this a 2 out of 5. Could have easily been higher. One of the things that would give it a 3 is a used non-bar body wash and shampoo, which I'm really glad the industry is transitioning to. I don't care that I don't get the little bottles anymore to take home, but the scents weren't great on any of those products. I really like the scents that, like a true hotel has. This one's gonna stay at a 2 out of 5. Now the next category I want to talk about is in regards to room service. Now, I don't get room service every time that I go to a hotel, but room service has become something that I look for when I'm at a hotel. I had an experience last year where I was fine when I got to the hotel, and then, the following morning, I was sick. Couldn't go out anywhere, couldn't do anything. I was bedbound essentially. It was one of those, 24-hour illnesses. And this hotel had room service, which meant I didn't have to leave my room. It could be brought to me. I could eat it in the room. Fantastic. This hotel did not offer any room service. This hotel had 2 options. It had a bar/restaurant that opened at 4 o'clock and closed at midnight, but they would not bring it to your room. You would have to go down to order, and then take it back to your room if you wanted to. That's not room service. That's not offering room service. This hotel gets a 0 in the room service category. Now let's talk about this hotel's location. Now, like I said, we're in the middle of downtown Albany. There's not like a scenic spot, there's not like a historic spot or anything like that where we could have been placed. We had a nice big window that overlooked a gravel lot. I did not feel unsafe, it did not feel premium, did not feel cheap, it just felt fine. So that's why this hotel in this category ended up getting a 3 out of 5. Let's talk about some bonus points. Let's be fair. Sometimes a hotel can do something and it will outweigh some of the categories it did not excel in. Did they have an additional free meal? No. Did they have hot tubs? No. Did they have ice or vending on the floor I was on? Now, this hotel did have ice on the floor I was on, but it was currently not in service, so it doesn't count. This hotel does get bonus points. It gets 2 bonus points for having a snack purchase. Now, normally at a hotel, you can go down to the concierge desk and they'll have like a little snack section set up. This hotel, next to that bar kitchen that you could buy things from, they had a little grab and go section for an additional cost if you wanted to buy something. They had some little salads, some little sandwiches. If I needed that, that was there. Fantastic. It's going to get the 2 extra bonus points for having a snack purchase. Which leads us finally to the round down section. Value. Now, I can't complain about how much I'm paying. I can't complain about how much things cost. All I can do is say, hey, if you needed to be in this city, this time, next year, how does this play in regards to value? Would I stay here again at this price and this room? I would, but only if I was there for 2 nights again. Things like having to pay $20 a day to park, that extra $20 puts me in a different hotel. Or I could save that by going to a different hotel, or I could spend that and go to a different hotel. $20 a day for parking, that really does not play well into my value proposition, which is why instead of giving it a 5 in this bonus category for saying I would stay here again in this room, I'm gonna give it a 3 and say I would only stay here again if it was cheaper or if it was for a short-term stay. We were only there for 2 nights. 2 nights, this hotel was fine. I liked it more on paper than the other hotels in the area, which is why I'm not going to deduct points for saying, hey, next time I'm here, I'm gonna stay somewhere else. Now, it's not likely that we're gonna be in Albany anytime soon. But if this was someplace like our normal vacation spots, we ended up at a hotel and I say, we're gonna stay somewhere else next time, that's when I would deduct 5 points. This leads us to a total of the Gray's Should You Stay rating for the Hyatt in Albany, the Hyatt Place, located in Albany. This hotel gets a 16. This is something where I'm dipping my toe in. I've got a trip coming up where I'm going to be staying in a couple different hotels, and this is really going to show some sort of comparison. But you always have to have a starting line. You always have to have a starting point where you start to rank things. The hotel we're starting at today, the Hyatt Albany, is going to be the only one on our ranking with a total of 16 points. Now, the places we're staying on our next trip, they can easily overtake this. But when you've only ranked 1 out of 1, regardless of what you may think about it, it sits there in first place. But thank you all for letting me indulge my dream of reviewing hotels. I'm gonna hopefully get better at this. I only got the one short shot of the room in the bathroom. I don't have an action cam or anything like that. Like I said, I'm still figuring this out. But I want to open this up to be more than just about movies. I know we're the book club for movies, but book club is more than about the book itself. You know, what drinks did you bring? What snacks? What was the meal at book club? I want to kind of make this a forum for whatever I want to talk about. We're the book club for movies, and most weeks we will have a movie to talk about. But if we don't, I might be talking about something else. It might be a hotel, might be something entirely random. But with everything, thank you for watching. I'm recording this earlier than I normally do, so the cat's not here to scream at me because we're not close to her feeding time. So I don't have my normal stinger. That being said, thank you all for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody.